Hey friends, I've been playing with the high school years pack a lot lately, and I think we can all agree that the high school that came with that pack is sorely lacking, so I'm going to try to fix it. So for this renovation, I really wanted to keep it as close to what we could have gotten with this pack, so I only used high school years and base game, basically to see what was possible with this pack. And I think it turned out okay. I wanted to keep the design kind of the same too, so really leaned into the uh, what I can't even remember what the design is called. This sort of style. I'm sure it'll come to me later, but yeah, I also wanted to keep basically everything on one level. At least all of the things that you would actually need for going to high school and going through all of the different activities, which there's really not that many activities, but yeah, so there's the two classrooms. I think I kept those just where they are, but I do kind of remodel them a bit. And then I shrunk down the cafeteria just because it was really big and really empty. So I added in some more things to that, put it a little bit, well, I guess it's still central. It's kind of off to one side a little bit. And I also built a library, which isn't really necessary, for gameplay. But I thought it'd be a really nice addition for this. It's also really strange how they didn't have a simmer create the high school like they did all of the other lots in the world. Because I'm sure they would have done a much better job. Because this is just like classic EA build where it's way too big and way too empty. There's like nothing really going on inside. So yeah, a little bit disappointing. I mean, I know there's really mixed feelings overall with high school years. And I don't know if I've ever, this is kind of the first time that I've really played with it. Like the actual gameplay, having a teen go to high school and do all of that. So yeah, it's a little lackluster, honestly. But I do like the build buy stuff. That stuff was really great. Some of the things that they introduced were really interesting. It was kind of cool to see prom, kind of make a return to the game. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like overall it just kind of missed the mark. I also wanted to make the layout a bit more efficient, since there's not a ton of time for your Sims to walk around and do things, during the class day or whatever, the school day, since they're in their classes for like multiple hours each time, and then they have to have lunch, and then that's kind of it. So yeah, I wanted to keep the cafeteria central still. There's doors on both sides, so hopefully it'll be easy for Sims to get in there, eat, leave, do whatever they need to do. I was thinking about putting the classrooms next to each other, which may have been a better idea, but I really liked how they were, I don't know, they kind of like stick out a bit from the rest of the build. So I liked that location. But yeah, I definitely wanted to make the cafeteria a little bit more realistic, I guess. I don't know, like I kept a couple of the round tables and then I put in some longer tables. That's much more like my high school experience. Like we had these like long tables kind of throughout. I don't know if we had any round tables, maybe a couple. But this feels a little bit more realistic for me, at least. And the main thing I struggled with was probably decorations, which is always a struggle for me when I'm doing a limited pack build. Like there just isn't enough stuff in base game that, I haven't used a million times before, and, that covers enough different styles. So yeah, I used quite a few posters kind of in the cafeteria, kind of the school propaganda that they have to read, and I don't know, join an after school activity, things like that. So I thought that made sense, at least. And yeah, I really wanted to add a lot of different like lockers and benches and fill up the hallways more, because that especially was really empty in the original version. So yeah, added a lot more lockers. Which is kind of funny because there's probably enough lockers at the end of this build for like 200 students. But there's only like 10 apparently in the whole, I don't know, Sim Nation that go to this high school. And interestingly, the requirement for the high school is to have 8 lockers, but they have to be the like 2 wide ones, which I thought was interesting. For some reason, the other lockers didn't uh, count toward that, so I had to swap out some of those. I don't know if the other ones just don't actually have gameplay associated with them. I didn't really test out the lockers very much, but I thought that was kind of odd because they all kind of look the same. I also end up getting rid of the basement level that's in here, just because I didn't really think that made sense to have a basement in a high school. Like I've never really seen that, at least not a basement that's accessible to the students. Usually, if there's a basement, it's just like the maintenance area and has like all the HVAC and all that kind of stuff in there. So plus for gameplay, I didn't think it was. I don't know. I don't love playing in basements in The Sims just because, everything around you is just black and you can't, see the rest of the world. So yeah, I just kind of brought everything up. I created this like small workout room. Not really a full gym, just since I didn't want to change the like shape of the build that much. And since I was only using high school years and base game, I wouldn't have access to like the basketball hoop from City Living or like any of the other sort of activities like that. I also expanded the bathroom on this main level with the showers, since they did have showers in the basement level as well, so thought that would make sense to keep those, have an option for Sims to shower if they needed to. And I'll rearrange this bathroom a little bit in a second too, since I had this kind of extra space that I wasn't really sure what to do with. So I just kind of expanded it all and kind of rearranged things. And I think that worked out a bit better. I'd love to hear what you all think of this pack too, because yeah, I don't know. It just kind of missed the mark. I think, there's so much potential for this. And unfortunately, that's something that I feel I say about The Sims 4 a lot, is there's just so much potential for some really cool gameplay and build by and all of this stuff. And it just kind of misses, it's, I don't know. I think they could have done a lot more with like skill building if they wanted to do this sort of active career sort of thing. If you're going to do these active classes, like why not make them more interesting, like more interactive? Instead of them just sitting at a desk listening to a lecture, like that's not very interesting. Like they could have done like, I don't know, like a full science lab where you have to like mix different chemicals or like, I don't know, do a dissection, although that might be a little iffy. But yeah, I don't know. They could have done like an acting class. That would have been kind of cool. Although I guess maybe you'd have to have that other pack, but I don't know. I think that could have been an opportunity for some more cross-pack functionality. Like if you had Get Famous, you could take an acting class in high school. Maybe if they had different types of high schools, like an arts one, like science and technology, like they have different high schools that have different focuses. That would be kind of interesting. I was thinking like maybe they could make it like university where you register for different classes, so you could focus on different skills. I think that would have been like a really cool way to do it. I think making the classes much more interactive could have been a more interesting way to do skill building as a teen. Just since, I like, at least for me, like I tend to just stay at their house and do skill building, which isn't as interesting. So I think it could have been a great way to balance the social aspects, that they introduced with prom and all of that, and then the skill building side with classes. I don't know. I think that would have been really cool. Like you could have done music classes, you could have done like cooking classes, and actually gained a bunch of skills before graduating. I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think. Like what ideas like would have been really great for this pack. I've also seen people talking about like instead of focusing on the classes, they should have focused more on extracurriculars and making them like the active part, which I think would have been great too, since those are they're just like rabbit holes basically, which is a bit disappointing. Like why would you make a lecture class the focus instead of something fun like like being in a sport team or like cheerleading, chess club, all of that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of a little lackluster. And here I've been working on the library that I created. I thought this would be a great space to, put in some computers, some bookshelves and things, tables so that they can do their homework and whatnot. And if you kind of missed it while I was blabbing on, I put a computer in there because I wanted to have like a check-in or like a checkout spot, for like checking out books. Obviously, you can't actually do that. But I didn't want the computer, or at least I didn't care if the computer was functional. So I put it on a counter and then I like sized down the counter so that I could get it to face the correct way. So yeah, that was kind of like the little trick that I used for that. And here in the principal's office, I wanted to add a bit more personality to this space, since it's, I don't know, kind of boring. Honestly, it's just like the desk and the chairs and one chest of drawers. Not super interesting. So I put in some artwork. I moved the diplomas over, make them a little bit more of a feature. Added in these other bookshelves that, I don't know, they look a little bit more, I don't know, like lived in, I guess, like a little bit more like they belong to a person rather than just being like in the library. Put up these pennants that were for all of the different clubs. I thought those were kind of cool to have in here. And yeah, just kind of putting in some other decorative pieces like those cork boards and flags and stuff. I thought those would be nice to kind of sprinkle around. And for the teacher's lounge, I put in more of a kitchenette in here. So there's like a microwave, there'll be a refrigerator, all of that kind of stuff. I thought that made a little bit more sense. So, they could come in and have their lunch in here, I guess, even though I don't think the faculty in the game will actually do that. I think they just use the cafeteria. But, I thought this made a little bit more sense. Yeah, just put in a table and chairs. I'm not super familiar with teachers' lounges. I don't know if they normally have couches and stuff. Probably, but, in the game, I don't know how necessary that is. And I thought putting in these like different kind of lockers would be nice so they could store their things in there. And yeah, I wanted to put in some upper cabinets, but all of the corner pieces had like glass fronted parts with dishes and stuff in there, which didn't really make sense. So ended up just putting them on one wall, which I think was fine. A little bit more maybe realistic, I guess. I don't think they would have like really nice fancy cabinetry with glass doors in a school break room like that. But yeah, so went with that option. I think that worked better. And then for the classroom, they both end up being the same. I'll actually just copy this one over there and kind of rearrange it so it's mirrored. I thought about customizing them a little bit. So like one was more science focused and one was more math. I think those are the two classes that they say that your Sims are attending. But since you can't assign which classroom is for what subject, I ended up just making them a little bit more, I guess, generic, a little bit more flexible, I guess. So it wouldn't be weird if either one of them was used for either subject. But yeah, I just wanted to add more stuff into it, make it feel a little bit more, I guess, lived in. I don't know if that's really the the right word. But like teachers, they tend to customize their classrooms a bit more, make it feel a little bit more welcoming, a little bit more interesting. So yeah, definitely wanted to add in some more stuff in here. And yeah, added in this counter at the back. I thought that would be a nice way to add in some more clutter, kind of imply that there's a bunch of storage under in the cabinets for all of the different classroom stuff that they need. And yeah, here I'm about to copy over the other classroom, and then I just kind of rearrange it so it's kind of the mirrored version of the other one. And I think that ended up working out pretty well. And yeah, and I added in a bathroom over on the other side as well that I kind of skipped over just so there's more space, more bathrooms. Wow, amazing. And I ended up having a bunch of extra space in this hallway. So I just extended the library over and ended up putting in another chess table. So I thought that was a better way to use that space than just more hallway, since there's really nothing else I really thought of putting in there. And yeah, I added in just some more decorative items over here, and I think I'll put in another painting as well, and that'll pretty much finish off the library. And one other thing I was thinking about that they could have done for this pack is, instead of making it high school focused, maybe if they had just made it school focused for like any kid, if they had introduced elementary schools as well, as just like another way to build skills as a child sim and then as a teen sim. I think ideally if the elementary school and the high school were like on the same lot, that way if you have a teen and a kid and a child sim in your household, you could play as them both while they're at school. That would be kind of the ideal, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I think that would have been an interesting way to kind of help build those skills as well. And I kind of wish skill building in general was a little bit more realistic to like real life. Like if they made it so, child sims and teen sims would gain skills faster than adults. Just since, kids have, their brains are still very elastic and they can typically learn things much faster than adults. So I think that would have been kind of an interesting way to do it too, if they kind of revamped how skills worked. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's just so much else they could have done with this pack. But yeah, so now I am outside kind of redoing this little, kind of like a courtyard area, I guess. I wanted to make the concrete look a little bit more realistic and kind of tone down all this red brick that they used. I don't know. It didn't really feel super realistic to me, especially if this is supposed to be a public school. I can't imagine they're spending a lot of money on bricklayers and all of that. So yeah, I think I'll actually get rid of the rest of the red brick that's still there. And I kind of moved the tree planter thing over, which I really liked. I thought that was kind of a nice thing that they added here. I also added in some of those cheer mats, just so that they're on the lot. They're a bit closer than the one that's like way out in that field, in case you have time to use that during the school day. And yeah, I also added in some telescopes because I wanted to have, just some more skill building items that your Sims can use while they're there. And then I kind of redo this fountain area. I did use some red brick. I thought, maybe they would have splurged a little bit if they're putting in a fountain for the school, which also seems unlikely, at least for a public school. I don't know. You'll have to let me know if you went to a public school that had a fountain. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But yeah, added in just a little bit of landscaping. I didn't want to go, over the top with landscaping because, again, I don't think they would be spending a bunch of money on this to maintain it and all of that. But I did want to make this fountain area a little bit more, a little bit nicer, a little bit more of a showpiece for the school. I also added in a bunch of trash cans, both outside and inside, just to encourage students to throw away their garbage properly, because I'm sure that would be a challenge in real life. Probably not so much in The Sims. They're usually pretty good about autonomously using trash cans. But yeah, thought that would be a little bit more realistic. And yeah, now I'm working on the upstairs. I did want to add in some things up here. I do a art room and then a music room, just to have more activities for your Sims if they end up having enough time to use these spaces. Obviously, they're not necessary for your Sims to complete the school day or anything. At least I'm pretty sure they're not. But yeah, and since they're upstairs, this stuff doesn't matter as much because I didn't want to put classrooms upstairs and have things on different levels that they had to use and all of that. So, but I definitely wanted to make this space a little bit more usable and just kind of nicer looking. So I added this raised platform with some different things that The Sims could be painting, like a still life painting class, something like that. I think that would be kind of interesting. And yeah, put in a bunch of different easels and those little, I don't know, art side table things. I forget what they're called. Keep wanting to say tableau. Is that right? I don't know. But yeah, put those in there. Those were nice. And I'll add in some counters at the back here in a minute, just with like sinks and all of that. So they could theoretically wash out their paintbrushes and all of that. And I'm always a bit surprised at how much painting related items there are in the base game. It must be, I'm assuming some of those items are from the painter career. That would make sense. Like the blank canvases and like the storage, I don't know, thing for all of the like painted pieces. So yeah, those worked out really well in there. I put in a couple of woodworking tables in here, maybe a little bit random, but I didn't want to create a whole new room just for woodworking. So yeah, just put those in there. I thought that worked out well. I also ended up using the like makeup brush item from high school years on the counter, just since they kind of looked like they could be paint brushes. So yeah, I thought that was kind of nice, even though they aren't technically paint brushes, but I won't tell anyone if you won't. And then for this music room, it ends up being more like a small auditorium, just since Sims can't use, guitars and violins while sitting, which I really wish they could, because then you could actually make it look like a classroom. Like they could have like a guitar next to, all the different seats, and they could sit and play. That would be nice. But yeah, so I turned it into a little bit more of like an auditorium look, which I think still works well. You can still have the Sim come up and use the piano and the guitar and all of that. And yeah, I mean, I guess in a more realistic high school, this auditorium would probably be on the first floor, but I didn't want to waste space with it down there, since, it's not actually going to be used like an auditorium, so it didn't really make a lot of sense. And at first I was going to use this little, I don't know, empty hallway area as a sitting space, but I ended up adding in a couple of extra single user restrooms, which I thought would be a bit more useful if you have Sims using the spaces up on this floor. They would have options to use the restroom. So yeah, I thought that would make a little bit more sense. Then I'm just doing some finishing touches up on this level, and then that pretty much wraps it up. I used, you'll see in a second, I used the like career fair table. I imagine they could use that as like a check-in sort of table if they have maybe a performance in the auditorium. I thought that would be kind of interesting. Added in the podium here, which I don't know if that'll actually do anything here. But yeah, and that will pretty much wrap it up. So yeah, I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Please let me know what you think. If you liked the video, please leave a like. That helps a lot. And subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you so much. Have a great day.